All right, guys, today let's dive into some more questions about carb backloading, questions I get often, while I continue to explain how you can implement this into your life and show you why this method where people binge out on junk food one night a week actually allows them to get more shredded, put on more muscle. Now, first of all, I should just start with the question I get probably the most. If I eat carbs late at night, won't I just get fat? And if you're like most people, you've probably heard the old wives' tale that the worst thing you can do is eat at night because those calories won't be burned and you'll just store a bunch of fat. And people often raise this concern when they hear about carb backloading, but this isn't actually the reality. And it's especially not the case when we follow a right or a correct carb backloading strategy. When people stay in a constant calorie surplus or their bodies just aren't metabolically flexible enough to use different types of food as energy, they're going to put on fat regardless of what time they eat. That's part of the purpose, the reason behind carb backloading, amongst other things, to apply some hormetic stress that's actually going to allow you to become more metabolically flexible over time. So will you likely be in a caloric surplus on carb backload days? Yes, most likely you will be. So you wouldn't want to carb backload every day unless you're trying to put on weight. The element of a surprise is really the secret sauce here. Adaptation is the name of the game because most clients carb backload once per week, some twice per week. So while they are eating extra calories on these days, their overall week is still generally in a caloric deficit, depending on the goal. Another part of the success here that can't be overstated is that you must train later in the day before you backload. Carb backloading without weight training really defeats the purpose, and it isn't recommended for anyone unless you're like 7% body fat, fitness competitor lean. Now, am I going to tell you that you can eat more calories than you burn in a day, day after day, and still lose fat? Absolutely not. That would be ridiculous to say. But the whole point of stack dieting and the carb backloading portion of it is to improve metabolism, increase lean muscle mass, and really just increase our overall metabolic flexibility, our daily burn, which is the main reason why 99% of traditional diets fail miserably long-term, because they don't do that. Instead, they just look to reduce calories, try and increase workouts, increase activity, which sounds nice in theory, but in actuality, it ends up just crushing metabolism. Trying to live on some restricted diet, staying on a constant calorie deficit is like welding the door shut on your metabolism and your ability to burn fat long term. It's like putting a band-aid on a bullet hole until you just bleed out. You lose too much muscle, it backs you into a corner with nowhere to go. And it's not a stretch to say that traditional diets make the body less metabolically capable than when you started the damn diet. And it's a big reason, there's a big reason that happens, and it's a lack of healthy hormetic stressors. Things become too predictable and easy for the body to adapt to be more efficient. And in this case, it means slowing down metabolism. Proper workouts, the correct type of workouts, strategic fasting periods, carb backloading, carb cycling. These are all types of stressors we can use to combat that, because when we don't give the body reasons to adapt, to become stronger, become better at burning fat for fuel, the old default human hardwiring is to do the opposite. It's to make you fat, lowering your energy output, lowering metabolism, because your body thinks that that's what's best for survival. The only diets in the world that are capable of working long-term forever are the ones that can reprogram the body to want to stay lean and want to build or sustain muscle mass instead of storing fat. And most diets simply don't do that. They signal the body to burn off energy-hungry muscle first and hang on to fat for dear life. And this is really why the stack diet is I often refer to it as the anti-diet diet, because traditional diets long-term make you fatter. So I want to make something crystal clear with carb backloading. Carb backloading isn't just about eating foods once a week to indulge for your sanity's sake. It's not like your traditional cheat meal. It's really about manipulating the system, getting hormonal responses working in our favor so we can rewrite the code in a way, get our metabolism kickstarted, and start using things like insulin for its anabolic benefits rather than letting it make us fat. Because long-term success, continued results, breaking through plateaus means using healthy stressors, using methods that can help us adapt in the right way and actually make the body better at burning fat, which most diets completely miss the boat on, which is why most people, they see results on these programs until they don't, often ending up in a worse place than where they started. We need to teach the body that it can't always rely on a predictable flow of carbohydrates, because humans are hardwired for efficiency. Evolution has made us that way. It's made us want to store fat and burn muscle for energy instead of fat, because that meant better chances of survival for 99.9% of human existence. Problem is, in modern day life with modern food, evolution's about 20,000 years behind, and it's now working against us. It's increasingly easy to eat excess calories, become fat, become obese, and that's the reason why 70% of the population is. And this next thing, I say it so much, I feel like a broken record, but with any diet, the long-term success will be 100% determined and dependent on if that diet can allow you to build or at least sustain muscle mass while decreasing body fat. Losing weight, if it's not actual fat, might make you feel better for a while looking at the scale, seeing a lower number, but long-term, those diets just make people fatter, more of a mess hormonally, less metabolically flexible. Yet I see it every single day, from experienced competitors to the soccer mom next door. People following these clean, restricted diets that sooner or later, unknown to them, is handicapping them, setting them further back, because dropping a bunch of weight, if your actual body composition isn't getting better, your fat to muscle ratio just means more fat gain in your future after the Band-Aid falls off. And I'd say the biggest key difference here between carb backloading properly versus regular cheat nights or cheat meals is that we're depleting muscles of glucose from a day of avoiding carbs or glucose. Then by working out, while we're already slightly glucose depleted, we are priming the body even more for insulin to transport glucose into thirsty muscles after training. It's the weight training and increased insulin sensitivity that make the muscles 10 times more capable of absorbing and transporting all sugar glucose from all those delicious carbs. We're basically ensuring first that muscles are at their peak state for glucose absorption, when fat cells are also most dormant. So by saving your carbs until after training when they're depleted, then cheating with foods that spike insulin that normally would be thought of as unhealthy foods, not good for us, we're actually creating a very anabolic environment, a muscle building sweet spot where we can build and recover faster while also being much less capable of storing fat at that time. The thing is, the way that most people are dieting or they're eating, the typical North American lifestyle centered around steady carbohydrates all day, every day, it completely impairs fat utilization because insulin is chronically high, and these high insulin levels also drive up cortisol, which further tells the body to store more fat. Does this mean you shouldn't eat carbs at breakfast or carbs should be avoided always? Absolutely not. But it is a double-sided answer because I love carbs. My body thrives off them. And in most cases, for most people, when we actually fix the insulin resistance problem, their body responds well to carbs too when timed properly. They're absolutely critical for optimal performance, for building muscle, but timing is the real key. But now I would say carbs first thing in the morning, most days for most people, is not the best idea. And carbs should not be the focus first thing after waking up. Protein should be and fat should be. When you eat a heavy carbohydrate breakfast to start the day, whether it be oatmeal or pancakes or Starbucks pumpkin spice latte or a breakfast sandwich, as soon as those carbs hit, you're taking yourself out of that optimal fat burning state you started the day in. Insulin is released and you've hampered your body's ability to burn fat for the rest of the day. So why is carb backloading better than the regular way of doing cheat meals? Well, for every reason possible, basically. By avoiding carbs during the first half of the day, we ensure insulin levels are low. We want to weight train later. We increase muscle insulin sensitivity further. And those things together are where the magic really happens, because we're in a state where it's almost impossible for the body to prioritize storing fat. Our muscles are in a hypersensitive or hyper-responsive state where insulin can shuttle glucose and nutrients into them rather than potentially spilling over, ending up as fat and fat cells, which would normally be the case when people have a regular cheat meal. As always, the devil is in the details. It needs to be done right. When you do it right, you really do see your body melt fat away faster. You build muscle faster. Metabolism picks up. Things start momentum starts working in your favor. All as a result of eating pizza and ice cream and candy and bagels and muffins, things that you would think would never be good for improving fat loss. But it's actually kind of crazy because it's absolutely